tough kids, and they would buy into this, okay? The last 5 minutes I might do hangman. I used to have a spongy Nerf ball. I could throw the ball and ask questions, and it can still stay an academic. It just has to be fun, okay? But I've got some way to respond without having to stop teaching to all of these high-rate nuisance behaviors, all right? So a little bit later, pick on somebody else. We'll pick on Ann over here, except I can't walk over there because I make things go ring. I take away a mark from Ann, but Ann is my good BD kid, right? She's got strong behavior disorders. And she says, you know what? I don't give a shit about your silly ass marks. What do I do now? What should I do? What do you think I ought to do? Yeah.
Can we give her a positive reward when she's...
Because she just said she didn't give a shit?
Oh, no, I when she's doing the appropriate behavior.
Okay, but what do I do right now? She just said this nasty thing in front of all of you. And I'm feeling, you know, in my head there's a little thing going, Mayday, Mayday, she's not buying into this, right?
What could it possibly be to revert back to, and rule number 3 is using appropriate language. In the future, I'm happy that you know how to use colorful adjectives. However, it's more appropriate to the school.
Okay.
And just kind of drop it.
So what have I just done then? All right, I'm again disrupting my class, aren't I? Okay. What if I took another star? How about now, Ann? Care now? Nope. How about now? You let me know when you care. We ever seen teachers do that? Absolutely. Okay. Part of the issue, people, think about, and I've said this before, we're going to move on to some stuff. Think about academics. When a student is doing a math problem and they do 4 plus 4 and they put down the wrong answer, do we get crazy? We give them a simple correction and we move on. We learn behavior the very same way we learn academics. So I don't have to do anything else. I took away a star. Just because Ann said she doesn't give a damn, does that mean she doesn't give a damn? She may care a lot, but she doesn't know how to deal with that. I know I gave a consequence. Ann knows I gave a consequence. You guys know I gave a consequence. I can move on. I do not have to do anything else. All right? What if, on the other hand, I take one away from Ann and Damien? Damien says, stupid, you lost us a mark. Yeah, so did Damien. Okay? I want something consistent. I want something I can do every time. I don't have to stop teaching to do it. I can take it away. I can move on. I don't know how any teacher operates a classroom without a structure like that in place. It does not take a lot of effort. And it gets rid of so much noise.
So even if she cursed you out, you wouldn't, I mean, just pull off a star and just kind of let her ride?
Yep. Now what I might do, what is she telling you when she says, I don't give a shit about this, you're a dumbass? What is she wanting you to do?
React.
Yeah. Most of the time, anytime you feel the urge to do something, trust that the kid probably knows that's what you're going to do, and they probably somehow fits into what they're doing it for. Okay? Now one of the things, let's say that all of a sudden I do react. Do we as teachers have to play by the rules? Actually, we do. All right? We do. Don't shake your head, no. Yes, we do. In fact, kids are incredibly demanding that adults stay in the adult generation. And while they might like the teacher who wants to come down and be a friend, it generally doesn't serve that teacher well at all. Okay, they want us to be adults. All right? So we have to play by the rules, do they? No. So part of the issue is that, and when I was in junior in high school, they gave us a new German teacher. We had this very cute little German teacher for freshman and sophomore year. We were all madly in love with her. And junior year, they decided to give us the new German teacher, Miss Munkmeyer. And Miss Munkmeyer wasn't Miss Fox, okay? And she was a nice woman and all that, but she wasn't, and she was a new teacher. And so there were 8 of us, and we were pretty good students, but all of a sudden we had this novice new teacher we didn't like. And it was free time. We would do all kinds of crazy things. I'd have a girl with long hair that sat in front of me, and I would put a cheat sheet on her collar, and she'd pull her hair frontward, And if Miss Meyer was walking around, she'd just whip her hair back and cover my cheat sheet, and she'd follow around. She knew we were cheating, she just couldn't figure it out. And it was just the fun of doing this, right? We didn't need to cheat. It was like, we can do this. It's fun, okay? Some kids just like to get the adults going. So if I swear at you and all of a sudden you want to react to it, I can just keep doing that, can't I? What's the only option you've ultimately got? You could ignore me or you can throw me out. Right? You can throw me out. Other than that, there's not much you can do. So quite frankly, one of the big things is that I want to kind of take that power away. I'm not going to react to it. Now, on the other hand, I might in the back of my head say, okay, you have a hard time taking correction. As I go on down the road and I correct you and you do it well, as you're leaving the classroom one day, I might say, you know, I need to talk to you for a minute. I know you have a hard time taking correction. You know, but today, 3 times I corrected you. And every time you accepted it and you moved right on. I think you're really growing in this. I'm really proud of you. Now, what might you tell me? Blow it out your butt, right? Just because I'm giving somebody good feedback doesn't mean they're going to go, oh, that's the sweetest thing anybody's ever said to me, right? Okay. So beware of it, and help your teachers understand that. Kids, you know, I don't know how to take positives. And so when you give me one, I'm going to have to get, and I don't want to be up on that white horse. Get me the heck off that horse. I want to be back where I'm at. How many times have we seen a kid that when you praise them, they do something wrong? And you even get teachers going, I'm not going to praise them because the minute I do, that goes south, okay? Part of that's the kid's safety valve. I don't want to be this kid who's getting praised. That's not who I am. Maybe you're too stupid to see that. Let me show you who I am. All right? And you just got to keep playing the game. All right?
Would you do this if you have that impulsive ADHD?
Absolutely.
Who's going to be socially ostracized out in the playground because he just lost at home?
How have you built it? How did you set that up to begin with? With more than, and he's part of the group, right? So I might have 20, and if it's a huge number, I'll break the period down into much smaller periods. Okay, because, I mean, we got 119 marks up here, and I'm taking one away every time you do something. Okay? They're already, that number's built in. So while he may lose the lion's share, it's still set up to help him. What this does, it's because it's based on a positive. Kids with ADHD are always going to have problems with impulse. But can they learn to handle it better? Yes.
Then would you set up a separate system with him also along with that? In other words, where he, physical working or like a mystery motivator kind of thing, or yesterday you only had 6 shutouts, let's make a goal for you today to do 5 shutouts.
I might, depending on the age and who the kid is, I try to do a lot of have kids do a lot of self-monitoring. So even though you're part of a group contingency, what I might say is, I want you to keep track of yours. And what we're going to do is see how many times you beat, you know, can we get the number down, okay? And we're going to do it slowly, because I don't want a kid to, and one of the things that we sometimes get in trouble with is we try to move things too fast. And you know, what I really want is this student to just begin to gain better self-control. They'll probably always have a problem with this. But they can gain better self-control. It's kind of like if you have an itch, you can choose not to scratch it. It's just not easy, okay? So while I have an impulse, I want to say something, but I can learn to control it better, but it's not going to be easy. And so it's going to, and there'll be some times and some days and some topics that will be more difficult than others. And we just learn to deal with that. But I want kids to manage their own behavior as much as possible.
And I think sometimes when they swear at you and you don't do anything, it might feel like they're not reacting, but I work in a BE secondary at school, and I have to just remind myself that I am reacting by not responding.
Right.
And sometimes that speaks a lot louder than anything I could say.
Yeah.
I've actually had kids repeat the behavior and then say, wait, I'm being really irritating. Why aren't you?
That's right.
Why aren't you being mad?
Do I have to set myself on fire? What's wrong? Yeah, because if you've got a kid who's doing something for adult attention, obviously what I want to do is minimize adult attention. So again, I might have a system like this because I don't have to do much to take away a mark. All right? Now, I still realize this kid has a need for adult attention. So what else do I have to do? I better be finding something I'm going to be giving them lots of adult attention for. And again, that can be a problem when we work with our teachers because oftentimes teachers do not believe they should reinforce expected behaviors. You know, and you may have to help them understand that that's incredibly important. Okay? It's probably one of the #1 issues why a 3-tiered system doesn't make it in a school is because one of the big parts of that is, do I have systems to reinforce the kids who are doing the right behavior Part of that's to sustain, that, although for a lot of those kids, they have intrinsic motivation. They don't need an outside reinforcer, and that's the problem. Is teachers go, why would I give her a reinforcer? She's already intrinsically motivated to do it herself. Well, part of it is because I want to attract her to do it. And so if she doesn't see any payoff for those kids who follow the rules, why would I want to follow the rules? So there is, but that sometimes sells hard to teachers, and so you have to realize that. As time goes on, I reduce the number of stars, or I increase the length of the interval. That's how I improve the behavior. All right. Now, the last thing you've got is a thing called the teacher-student game, and I may have talked about this before, but I may not have. Again, as part of just a quick review. You have to teach rules. One of the best ways I've found to teach rules is that, let's say I've got a situation where I want you to know how you're supposed to sit and act when I'm teaching. So, as a good student, your eyes would be on me or on your reading materials. Your feet would be on the floor. Your butt would be in your seat. Right? Your hands would be quiet. All right? Unless you're writing or doing something like that. And I'm going to be very clear. Here's the 3 things I'm going to look at, or the 4 things I'm going to look at. All right. We're going to take, as we're teaching the class, I might say, you know what, guys? We're going to take 15 minutes and we're going to play the teacher-student game. If I see that you're all doing what you're supposed to be doing, I'm going to stop every now and then, and you're all doing what you're supposed to be doing, you get 5 points. If, on the other hand, when I stop, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, I get 5 points. And now I just go for 15 or 20 minutes and go, whoa, look at, every one of you is doing exactly what you're supposed to do. I am really proud of you. 5 points. A little bit later, somebody's screwing around. Oh, no, not everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. I get 5 points. This is a setup, folks. This is not a real game. Okay? You do this in a way that the students always win about 80% of the time. It's only a way for you to teach the expectations. That's why you're doing this. Okay? So any rules you're trying to teach, you just set it up, but you let them win so that they can, but it gives them a chance to practice. Now again, I taught high school. I taught tough high school kids, and they would buy into this. I remember thinking, wow, Now a lot of those kids were like marshmallow on the inside. They were just hard as nails on the outside. They were really kind of just little kids on the inside hoping somebody cared about them. But I've done it in high schools. All right, let me go back up here. So that sheet's in there just to help. But a lot of that stuff, we're going to talk. The last thing I'm going to talk about, we're going to talk more about it in a few minutes, if you are not using it. And I think especially a lot of times for students with hearing impairments and different kind of issues like that, if you do not have a good check-in, check-out system. All right. Let's see if I got that. Okay, so that's just kind of an example of one. If you look at the last page there, this is an example of a real sheet that I might use. So it's got the various behaviors you're working on. And I look a lot at the IEP, I look a lot at and I really want to pick, I don't want to have it the same for every kid. Every kid is somewhat unique. What am I working on with Jill? All right, so in this case, Ben Acker needs his glasses. In this case, we're working on follows teacher's directives, active task engagement, completes the assigned work, remains in the assigned area, and uses kind words and actions towards others. Every teacher is going to evaluate Jill on this at the end of every class. Now, that's again one of those administrative kind of situations where you'll get some teachers going, just this isn't realistic. And you need somebody with a sharp stick saying, guess what? It is. All right, this is not unreasonable. Now you can also, a lot of schools, especially as kids get to middle school and high school, we do this all on computer. So all the teacher has to do at the end is they just click an icon that pops up, and then they can pick the kid's name, and they do it on the computer. The kids also carry a sheet and they rate themselves. And sometimes on checkout, depending on the age, we always help them compare it, but the way on the checkout, kids can earn extra points if they were accurate. All right, so they learn how to keep track of themselves. Now, what I want to do is make sure that we're all giving the same information. So on the back, you'll see we've actually operationally defined each and every one of these behaviors. When do you get a 1? When do you get a 2? When do you get a 0? So we all look the same. So it's not like, well, I'm going to give her a 5. Why? Well, because hell, I like her. All right? When does she get a 4? When does she get a 2? All right? I want that to be somewhat clear. I want the kid to know it. I want the teachers to know it. Now, you'll notice in some of the situations, for example, follows teacher directives, there are 2 ratings in that time. Some kids can't keep 30 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour in their head. They don't have the memory skills. And so at the end of the period I go, you're getting a 2. And the kid goes, I've been like gold. What do you mean? The last 15 minutes, because all they remember is the last 15 minutes. Yeah, but the first half hour you were a jerk. All right? So the issue is that I can break this period in 2 and say, okay, for the first half you had problems, but you did well in the second half, or vice versa. Or you did well on both sides. I always think of the Bazooka Joe comic. And it had Bazooka Joe was looking for something and somebody came by and said, what are you looking for? He said, I lost my car keys. He said, you did? Where'd you lose them? He said, I lost about 3 blocks that way. He said, why are you looking here? He says, the light's better. Okay? I'll see teachers who rate at the end of the period. Why? Because that's when it's convenient for me. But the kid can't keep a whole period in their head. It's like you're wasting your time. And you're wasting the kid's time. This has got to be based on the kid's ability, not your desire. Not what's convenient for you. All right? So the teacher rates these kids across these kind of situations. There's a space for comments. Those are always positive. This is not a place to put negative comments. And if I can't think of one thing the kid did well, think harder. All right? This is a motivator. Now, I don't want kids to get all 4s or all 5s. I want it to be real. And what we're going to work on is improvement. Okay? As we get to 4s and 5s, if it goes to 5, these only go to 4. Now becomes the time, as kids begin to near that, we begin to sabotage them. One of the other big problems that I see around behavior is that oftentimes we can create an environment in which there are no behavior problems, but we are doing it all. So the minute we leave, the kid falls apart. All right? When we teach kids and use scaffolding for academics, is the ultimate goal to remove the scaffolding? When we teach behavior, the ultimate goal is to remove those external supports, and that the kid can do this on their own. So I now want to set problems up. I'm working with a number of school districts. The feds have now started to be very conscious about kids with behavior disorders and whether they're graduating from high school. And kids with behavior disorders have the worst outcomes of any special education population out there. Okay? So they don't graduate from high school for the most part. And part of what we're seeing is that as we're seeing more kids being included, the kids have more emotional than conduct disorders. They sit in a regular education classroom and they just vegetate. The teachers don't call them, don't put any pressure on the kid because I don't want a behavior problem. The kid doesn't engage in anything because he can't or doesn't want to. And they get all through elementary and middle school with very little active instruction. They get to high school and they don't have the skills to earn credits and they drop out. Okay? One of the reasons in these checkout sheets that I oftentimes put class participation is to change teacher behavior. If I've got to rate a kid on participation, what do I have to do? I have to give them an opportunity to participate. All right? So part of this is a teacher change process too, not just a kid change. We can start talking about participation. We can start, if he's not getting good, well, how could we increase that? And it gives me lots of entree. He's not completing the work. Well, let's look at the work. Wow, do you think he can do this work? And it gives me a way to begin to help the teacher become much clearer about what they're doing. And I use the data sheet in terms of what's going on. So if you're not using a check-in, check-out, and usually the start of the day, the kid comes in, brings their sheet from yesterday, maybe the parents have signed it, and then you give the new sheet, and you have them plan. Yesterday you had a little bit of trouble with completing work. What are we going to do today? I think you can do it. All right, great. And I know that's going to be tough in math, but hey, it's all right. Go, yay, off to this, to the day. At the end of the day, they come back and you check them out. Again, positive. You deal with what's going on, but it's positive. If you're not using that, think about using that. Real powerful, good empirically validated process. All right, let's go back where we were, wherever that was. All right. Just as a quick reminder, there are steps to doing this FBA stuff. I have to select and define a target behavior. How many of you, by the way, are new this time? This is your first time here. Raise your hand high. Just a couple? You don't have to be, okay. All right, 3 or 4. All right. Just very, very, very quickly, this is the #1 reason these things get thrown out in a due process hearing. We do not do a very good job of identifying and defining behavior. So one of the things I'd say, go back, pull your FBAs and BIPs, read your target behavior. Is it observable and measurable? Do your staff know it? What happens in a due process hearing is the lawyers bring in the teachers separately, and I say, Tracy, what was Randy's target behavior? Okay.
He's good in my class.
He's good in your class. Doesn't have a problem in your class, okay? And then I go, Jill, what was Randy's target behavior? And all of a sudden, teachers are giving me different definitions for the target behavior. What have I just done as the lawyer for the parents? I've just won that out because it's no wonder this wasn't working. Hell, they don't even know what behavior they're working on. All right? #1 reason these things get thrown out. All right, so you're going to do that. You develop a hypothesis. I think Randy's doing it for attention from adults. I'm going to collect data. I'm going to see whether or not I can verify that. #2 reason they're thrown out, due process hearing officers expect you to verify the function. All right? And you have one of 2 ways to do that. We've talked about this and done this before. You can triangulate the data. Do you have 3 independent sources that all suggest Randy is doing this for adult attention? So by my interview with Randy, by my watching him in science class, and by my discussion with the parents, all 3 of those seem to suggest that Randy really needs and wants adult attention and will do anything to get it. Okay. So then when you say what's the function of the behavior on your FBA form, the function of the behavior appears to be adult attention. This was verified by source A, B, and C, and you say what those sources are. The other way I can do it is called a functional analysis. I can begin to manipulate what I think the function of the behavior is. Now, there's sometimes you can't do that because you can't manipulate it. Sometimes it's not ethical. All right, but if I can, so I think that Jill is doing this to get my attention. What could I begin to do? I could give her lots of attention. If I'm giving her lots of attention, what should happen to her behavior? It should go down. Does that prove it? No. What else do I have to do? I have to pull my attention away. What should the behavior do? It should go up. What if it doesn't? That's not my attention she's looking for. So I manipulate what I think the function is, and then I say the function of the behavior appears to be adult attention based upon a functional analysis in which I manipulated the amount of attention I gave Jill. When I gave her more attention, the behavior went down. When I gave her less, the behavior went up. All right? That's just a sentence, but you've got to have it in there. All right? Once that's done, then I develop the BIP. Okay, make sense? All right. What I'm going to have you do is get into groups. So if you're sitting, we're getting into groups of 4 to 6 kind of a thing. So those who have their chairs kind of like this way, just turn them this way so you're all working together at a table. And I want you to start looking at Amy's behavior. Now I'm going to hang on just a second because I want to explain some of the data just for some of the people who haven't seen it before, what some of this kind of looks like. You're going to have antecedent response consequence. There's some sheets in there that say Amy did this, or the adult did that. What was the behavior, response, and what was the consequence? So you've got some of those to read and look at. You've got some sheets looking, for example, like things like compliance. So the student gets a request. What did the student do, and what did the teacher do? So in this case, the child got a request, they ignored the request, and the teacher didn't do anything. And as you look at these forms, they'll just follow out. The second request, the child complied, the teacher still didn't do anything. Third one, the teacher gave a request, the kid ignored it. The teacher this time gave a verbal reprimand. So that's kind of how you read these forms. What I'd like you to do is to get together, read the general description of Amy, here's what's going on, and then start, just from that sheet right there, what have you learned about Amy? Any ideas about what kinds of things might set the behavior off? Anything about what you think the function may be? Anything about current consequences that either may be good or bad that you might want to think about? Gee, that seemed to work, that might be something to think about in the future. Take that first piece of data. Then turn to the second one as a group. Go through it, do the same thing. Read it, say, what am I seeing there? What helps me understand the function? What helps me understand the social context? I want you to work as a group, see if we can come up with what you think. A, identify a target behavior. So she's got a couple. 2, what do you see the function of this? All right? Does that make sense? All right, so get in your groups. I'll walk around, kind of play with you as we're going through this. We've done this before, so this is brand new.